Hi, and welcome back to Pin Cut Sew. I'm Nikki. This is my kind of messy sewing room today, but I'm going to make this video anyway because I want to talk to you today about sewing gifts. I've sewn a lot of gifts in my many years of sewing, and I have learned some valuable lessons along the way. So here are some things to consider for you before you start hand making all of your Christmas gifts this year. Okay, before we start though, I want to show you this really cute and funny thing I just added to my printables shop. These are gift tags for you to attach to your handmade Christmas gifts. This one says, I like totally made this. This one says, please enjoy my blood, sweat, and tears. And this is my favorite. It says, handmade with cursing, I mean love. You can go get these. They come in a bundle. You get all of them for $4. So you just print them out. They print out 6 or 4 to a page like this. You can go grab those from my shop. I'm gonna put that in the description below so you can go grab it because they're really funny, and I don't know what kind of a mood I was in when I made them over the summer, but I just changed them all to Christmassy colors so you can put them on your Christmas gifts. Okay, but let's get started. Okay, my first thing I want to tell you is that you don't have to make the presents. There are a lot of reasons in the past why I have made presents. Some of them have been budgetary, and I'm going to talk a lot about that, the budget constraints, in a minute. Other reasons have been because someone specifically asked me for something, like they saw me have it and they wanted one. But I think the biggest reason is that in the past, in my younger years especially, I felt like because I could sew them, and maybe because I had sewn them in the past, I should sew them again or it won't be as special. I felt like there was some expectation on me maybe to make the presents, and thankfully I have since released myself from that expectation, and I want to release you from that expectation also, because feeling like you have to is obviously not a good reason to make people Christmas presents. So financial constraints definitely can be a valid reason, and that's why I'm going to dedicate some of this video to that for sure. But the only reason that you should make something for someone is because, number one, you want to, and you also have time and money to do so. Those 3 things really need to be in place, or else you should liberate yourself and you should go shopping. This should not create more stress for you at an already stressful, busy holiday season. So I just want you to know that you don't have to make the presents just because you can. You don't have to make them just because you made them in the past, and you don't have to make them because someone asked you to. Your gifts can be just as special if they are store-bought as if they were handmade. Gift giving is an art. To give someone a truly special gift, you really need to know them. And whether you buy it or make it, a gift that is truly them is going to be special to them. When my kids were little, I used to make a mixtape. We call it a mixtape, but obviously I just burned it on a CD. This was before you could just listen to whatever you want on Spotify, and you had to go buy the songs. So on their birthday, every single year for probably a decade, I have 3 kids, I made them a mixtape, and we would name it and we would decorate it with Sharpies, and we would listen to it on their birthday or at their birthday party in the car. And I always felt like making someone a mixtape is such a personal gift because you really truly have to know that person very well for it to be something that they'll love and listen to. And so I try to keep that in mind when gift giving. If I see something that looks like someone on my list, I get it for them. So even if I bought it or if I made it, they're gonna know that I truly know them and thought about them. And that's really what gift giving is for anyway, right? Okay, so as for those people who maybe saw you have something that you made and said, that's cool, can you make me one? A lot of people who don't craft or sew, they just don't really know how much time and effort and also money goes into handmade gifts. A lot of people think that sewing is cheap. And we all know that that is not true. So just because they asked for it, you don't have to do it. If you can do it and you want to and you have money and time, then do it. But just because they asked for it doesn't obligate you to have to make it. So to review, the valid reasons for making gifts can be budgetary, but it's not always cheaper to make them. But we'll get to that in a minute. So the considerations are you want to, you have time, and you have money to do it. So maybe you have a great idea that tons of people on your list would love. Batch sew that sucker and give it with joy. But do not let the pressure to sew gifts suck the peace out of your holiday season, okay? If you wish you could make the gifts but you just don't have the time and money, then remember there's other reasons during the year to give gifts. Those people will have birthdays, and those people might have Mother's Days. There's other opportunities in the year to give the gifts. So cut it loose for now and save your idea for later. Okay, number 2, this kind of ties into my first point. I promise the video will get less preachy and more positive in just a minute, okay? But I want you to also be choosy about who you sew for. Not everybody really appreciates a handmade gift, and it's okay. It may just be not their aesthetic. They may just not like the handmade look that most sewn gifts will have, and they just have a more modern aesthetic. That's fine. It's okay to be that person, but you need to figure out who those people are that really, really love and value your handmade work. Those people are so fun to sew for. It's a joy to make things for them and to give it to them because you know they love it. They love everything you make. I have lots of those people in my life. My mom always says she only sews for love. So sew it with love. Don't sew it with obligation. And don't let yourself be offended if this happens to you. If you make a friend something and they just don't ever use it or like it, it's okay. You've received gifts that you didn't really use or like to, right? All right, so if you're thinking, okay, but I make the gifts because I can't afford to buy the gifts, don't worry. At the end, I'm going to include lots of things you can make if you are on a really tight budget. I know this is a huge consideration for a lot of people because I am a gal who's been on a tight budget pretty much my entire life, okay? So I have lots of tips for that. I'm a very frugal gift giver, but I still believe that things can be really special. But if you are thinking that, then I would also encourage you to reconsider whether every person on your list really needs to be on your list for gift giving. It is okay for you, it's good even for you to set boundaries, especially with extended family, about what your family is able to do for Christmas gifts. You might have this long family tradition of doing gifts a certain way, but that doesn't mean that the tradition can't change. Don't let your family's expectations dictate what your family can afford to do. This works best if you say beforehand in advance, this is what our family is doing for gifts this year, so that there's no surprises, so somebody doesn't show up with tons of presents and you're giving one simple gift. They might like to be informed in advance, but don't ask them their thoughts on it. You just say, this is what we're doing. I'm very blessed. I have a very understanding family on both sides. I've never had any feathers ruffled based on what we were doing for Christmas gifts, but I know that some of your situations might be trickier than mine. But still, don't ask permission from your extended family to live within your means. A few years ago, all of our nieces and nephews are either teens or young adults, and they all live in other states, and so it was getting harder and harder for me to pick something individually for each person. So we just started gifting a family gift, so it would be like a game with some coffee beans, something the whole family can enjoy, but it really took so much stress and pressure off of me when shopping for Christmas presents. It is okay for traditions to change, especially traditions that really are not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Also, your family might thank you for releasing them from the pressure too. If you are making someone a gift, try to remember that you're sewing it for them and not for you. So one mistake I have seen people make is using sewing Christmas gifts as a way to clean out their fabric stash. So they get all of their fabric out that's been languishing in the back of a drawer, even if it's ugly, musty, or outdated, and they batch sew something and then they give it all out as gifts. That is a surefire way to ensure that your recipients do not use or like the presents that you give them. Don't use this as a stash busting exercise, okay? Yes, that can be a cheap way to sew gifts, but we've already determined you shouldn't sew gifts because it's cheap. And if you do need to do that, you can sew something smaller, or you can use one of the ideas I'm about to give you in a minute. But you want to tailor the projects and the fabrics to the person you're sewing for as much as you possibly can, because then they will love it and you will have fun doing it. So go shopping, get some new fabrics that look like the person you're making something for. That's the fun part, the shopping. Okay, so if you don't exactly know, like say you want to sew something for a friend, but you don't really know what their aesthetic is, you don't know what their home decor looks like, you have some options. The first is to go snoop around on their Instagram and catch snippets of their house. You'll be able to see if they have a classic style, modern style, if they like a lot of colors, if they're pretty neutral, etc. Also, people's fashion choices are often pretty similar to how they decorate their homes, interestingly. So the colors they like to wear are probably the colors they like in general. If they have a pretty minimalist, sorry, just knocked my microphone. If they have a pretty minimalist look, you can probably assume that their home is the same way. If they have a very flamboyant look, I know someone who wears rainbow colored granny square sweaters, okay? Their fashion can really tell you some good clues on what kind of fabrics to buy for them. So also, if you just can't figure it out, you don't know what to do, try to avoid making them anything that is to be displayed in their home or to be worn on their body, because those are harder things to personalize if you don't really know what they like. So something like a kitchen item, like an oversized hot pad, any fabric will go really, because they're just pulling it out when they need it. It'll make them smile no matter what the fabric is. It doesn't matter so much if it matches their house because it's not on display and they're not being expected to wear it. If you do want to make them like a tote bag, for example, just keep it neutral. Make it out of linen or denim, something that kind of everybody likes. Okay, let's move on to the ideas. I am planning several more videos in the coming month about specific things to make for different ages and genders and things like that on your list. But I want to highlight some of the ways today that I make handmade gifts more special, and then I'll highlight some things you can make that are truly cheap or free to make. These are all things that I have tutorials for, not because I'm tooting my own horn, but because I tend to make tutorials for the things that I've had success gifting. So I'm gonna link to all of those tutorials. I'll put some of them in the corner up here, as many as YouTube will let me, and I'll link the rest down below too. So when I make a gift, I like to pair it with something to kind of beef it up. So for example, my last tutorial was for a book sleeve. So if I were to give someone a book sleeve, I might make them a matching bookmark. I might purchase them a book to go in it, and I might get them a journal to go in the pocket, or like some sticker book plates. My mom got me those "This Book Belongs To" stickers, and I think they're so fun. Every time I lend out a book, I stick one in there. So anyone who reads would love that gift. And I only made the book sleeve and the bookmark if you want to. But it's easy to just make one thing and then sort of add to it to make it an even more special present. Another example would be an apron. My mom gifts an apron to, she makes an apron for new brides. So if she goes to a wedding shower, she'll make an apron. She'll gift it with some baking sheets, cooking utensils maybe. I like the bamboo cooking utensils, and a cookbook. So that's another way to beef up a good handmade gift. If you gift someone, say you make them an infinity scarf, you could also get them a nice pair of gloves to go with it. Or if you make them a hot pad, you could get them, maybe even go thrift, a vintage Pyrex casserole dish, things like that. It's also a frugal way to give a gift. So adding some purchase things to your handmade gift can make it feel even more thoughtful and can make it so that you have made something, but you didn't make everything. These are the things that I think are great to make if you are on a tight budget. I have definitely been in the position of having very little money to go around at Christmas time. I remember though, when we were first married, this was before I had kids, so it was a long time ago. I thought, well, I have a lot of yarn. I could crochet gifts. But I quickly realized that it would take me hours and hours and hours, and I actually didn't have enough yarn. And so it was actually gonna cost me more than if I just purchased small things anyway. But some of the things I do feel like are friendly, or budget friendly to sew, are the smaller scrap friendly things. So like quilted bookmarks can be gifted with a book from Thrift Books. If you live in the US and you have not discovered thriftbooks.com, you can go get used books and you can choose what condition they're in, so you can get a like new book. But even if it does look used, people are not going to care like you think they might. I'm always thrilled to get used books. So Thrift Books is a really great way. You can get books in there for like $4. If you live somewhere not in the US and you have resources like that, please drop those in the comments for other people to use too. Coasters are another really scrap friendly project. I've gifted coasters. My brother-in-law even requested coasters for his cabin, so I had a cute camping print and I made some. You can use my tutorial to do this. You can gift them with a mug if you want, or just wrap up the coasters really nice, and people love to receive those just by themselves. Coffee sleeves have been well-loved gifts for my immediate family members. Everybody loves them. It doesn't matter if they're boys, girls, men, women. It doesn't matter what age they are, because we use them for iced drinks. You can use them for hot drinks. I keep them in my purse. One time I got tea from we were like, you know, the little shops that mountain towns have. I got some tea at one of these shops. It was cold outside. They didn't have the sleeves, so I just stuck my sleeve on there. So handy. One time we went out for ice cream and they served the ice cream in little plastic cups and it was freezing, so I put my coffee sleeve on there. So coffee sleeves are a great gift. You could pair them with some ground coffee or coffee beans if you wanted to, but I know that they are always a hit. For other age groups, I was thinking hair accessories for girls or teen girls. The velvet hair bows I made recently were very inexpensive. You can get a few different ones out of one roll of velvet ribbon. The journal covers with a moleskin journal are a good idea. Kids, sock monkeys are a huge hit. In fact, not just for kids. I had a dance teacher, a male dance teacher at my kid's studio, ask me specifically for a sock monkey, and it became the mascot of his hip hop class. So just for the price of a pair of socks, you can make a sock monkey. Everybody loves them. That is one of the oldest videos on my channel. My skills have improved, I hope, but the method is the same. I still use it. That video makes me smile because my daughter was in it when she was really little. For girls, dolls and doll clothes are a great idea. In fact, my Phoebe rag dolls you might even be able to make with just scraps you have. If you have some solid fabrics and some prints for the clothes, some embroidery floss, if you have that kind of thing around, that won't cost you any money to make except for the price of the pattern. Doll clothes are always good for girls too, and boys. I have a whole set of boy doll clothes. And handmade dolls are always treasured gifts, I think. A few years ago, I batch sewed oversized hot pads for all my female family members, and they loved them. My sister said, this is the kitchen item I never knew I needed. I still make them occasionally as gifts. They're just always a hit. That's actually the #1 most popular video ever on my channel and my most popular blog post. So I was onto something with that one. If you have larger chunks of fabric laying around, then that is a really good gift idea. Also, the blog post that I will link to below has some tags that you can print and cut out for those oversized hot pads, because I was afraid that someone would open it and not know what it was. So it just says oversized hot pad. Okay, aprons can be made with about 1.25 yards fabric. I have a tutorial for that. You can make your own pattern. You can make it over and over again. Those are always a go-to gift for me. And lastly, I used to batch sew a different fabric ornament every single year, and I would give them out to all of my friends. Now I just make a few and I give them to a few friends. We just moved here, so I really only have a few friends currently. But ornaments are a great gift because as long as you carefully choose fabrics that are beautiful, then anybody will like them to hang on their tree. They don't necessarily have to match people's preferred aesthetic, you know? So I think I made cupcake ornaments one year. I made birds. I made little pies out of jar lids. Those were really cute. I've made so many Matryoshka dolls, little boots, seahorses were fun. And those are just, I remember them just being a fun part of the season for me, because I would do them kind of batch sew the machine parts, and then there was always a lot of like little hand sewing pieces, and I would just put them in a basket and take them with me places or work on them while I watch TV with my family or whatever. So ornaments are a great gift idea too, and they're just a little something, because so many times I just want to give a friend a little something, and so ornaments are my solution for that. If you have other things to add, considerations for making handmade gifts, please let's discuss them in the comments, because I'm sure I didn't cover everything. If any of this seemed controversial to you, especially the family member parts, please share your thoughts on that. I haven't had any arguments over gifts with my family, my extended family, but if you have, we'd love to know how you resolved it or how you wish you would have handled it. So let's discuss in the comments, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.